You know that guy disinfects his computer keyboard every day. He is so OCD. Why is this term OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, so embedded in our everyday speech? Why does this dysfunction turn up so much in our movies and TV shows? Is it because so many people can relate to these traits? But where lies the dividing line between someone who's a bit over-preoccupied with cleanliness or order or routine and someone who might be diagnosed OCD? Legendary aviator Howard Hughes' painstaking attention to detail distinguished his films and engineering before he sunk into deep debilitation. Can OCD traits give people a competitive edge on certain fronts? Joining us to probe these and other matters of OCD today is Dr. Jessica Russo. She's a clinical psychologist with decades of experience helping people manage and resolve addiction, anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. Today, she illuminates the brain mechanics of OCD and through real-world examples illuminates underlying causes of this condition and how she's guided people in their recovery. Welcome to Vital Signs, where we learn how to get healthy from all angles, from the biochemical and nutritional to the things we do that nourish our minds and our souls. I'm Brendan Fallon. Dr. Russo, wonderful to have you join us on Vital Signs again, and fantastic to get your perspective on this topic, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, that has really pervaded our mainstream, our pop culture, from TV shows to cinema, and has become part of our everyday language. We throw this term around if someone's a little bit meticulous, if they like to be particularly ordered, or they've got a thing for hygiene or cleanliness, we tend to call them OCD. But I wonder, where does the line lie between someone's quirky behavior and someone who has a full-blown anxiety disorder?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's true, so many people are talking about themselves this way. There's two major distinctions here. One is that these obsessions are really distressing for the person. And that's often not true with people who just have obsessive thoughts. And the other thing is these obsessions are often accompanied by compulsions. And we can see in the brain that there's a real difference between somebody who has OCD and somebody who doesn't. So there are four major regions of the brain that are overactive in OCD. So you have the orbital frontal cortex, which is one, and this is in charge of decision-making and risk assessment. So if you are needing to use the bathroom and there's only a public bathroom, you're going to assess that as very dangerous, where someone else might think, okay, this is just a low level of risk. There's contamination, but that's fine. I'll just wash my hands. I won't touch anything. No problem. That may not be the case for somebody with an OCD brain because of this overactivation. And then there's the anterior cingulate cortex, which works alongside this other section. That first region I mentioned, that's right behind the eyes. This is one that's just a little bit deeper in the brain, and this is involved in error detection and emotional regulation. So something being wrong in the environment, or you've done something wrong, that's very common with OCD. There's a real focus on making a mistake. I've made a mistake. It's a horrible mistake, catastrophizing. And that can really be unbearable. And, this is where the compulsions come in.
This could be like a moral mistake, or it could just be like a messing up in a test or something like that. It's not specific to any particular kind of error.
Not normally, but there definitely is a theme of not wanting to hurt other people and fearing that you are. So it often shows up that way. So the idea being, I've done something to really hurt someone. I've disappointed someone. I've compromised someone. There's a lot of shame that we see in OCD. So you've got that. And then you've got an area called the basal ganglia. That's deeper within the brain. And that focuses on habit formation, movement regulation, and again, very overactive. So this is where the repetition comes in. People with OCD, they may engage in a compulsion, but they can't necessarily stop that easily because this signal to stop is just not activating. They think, okay, I haven't done enough. I have to keep doing it. Maybe they don't even know why they have to keep doing it, but they're compelled to keep doing it. And then finally, there's the thalamus. The basal ganglia surrounds the thalamus, and the thalamus is in charge of receiving information, relaying information, and again, very overactive. So you have this circuit that normally in a normal brain, you recognize, okay, I need to do a task. You do the task like washing your hands after using the bathroom, and then you're done and you can leave the bathroom. But somebody who doesn't have that stop signal, they're not going to be able to stop. They're just compelled to keep doing it. So that's a really big difference between somebody who just has some obsessions and someone who has OCD. I had a patient, a 25-year-old male, who during the pandemic, he started developing OCD symptoms. So it's a little bit like what you were saying, not that he came out of such an intense environment, but his environment, like so many of our environments, had a lot more stimulation. He went into work, he went to the gym, he did all sorts of activities, seeing people, and then all that ended. He was working from home, much more isolated, and he started ruminating. And he had this pattern where he would start worrying about his work performance, and he would have to say to himself, okay, 3 times. And then I might stop temporarily, but we'd have to keep doing this because he just didn't have enough going on. Freud talked about all of us need to have some kind of a sublimation. We need to put our anxiety somewhere because we all have some sort of anxiety and energy, and it needs to be directed somewhere. So work is often a good form of sublimation. You put the energy into work. And so we found out, okay, well, what are the areas previously that were important to you? Activities, things that you could do that helped you feel that sense of meaning and purpose. Going to the gym was huge for him. So that was one thing. He wasn't seeing his friends as much. So we talked about getting together. Maybe you don't go out to a restaurant, but you go over to somebody's house. They can come over to your house. He also developed a fear of germs and contamination. I think like a lot of people ended up doing during the pandemic. So we addressed this too. And we looked at the pros and cons. Okay, so you get sick, but this is no way to live your life, right? You're feeling anxious and depressed because you're not connected to people. And that's so important. So really just getting a sense of what the person enjoys and what the person feels is important for them.
Yeah, I think there's a potential to really overthink our purpose when, as you say, like just having that connection, the basic social interaction, you're fulfilling a purpose because you're contributing to other people's lives, there's that dynamic that happens when people are together, so something is being created in that space. The darker the chocolate, the less healthy.
Right.
You're 100% dark chocolate, that's the most oxalate concentrated.
Exactly.
So you're better off buying the
milk chocolate. People really have trouble wrapping their heads around with an item naturally in food that's causing problems. They're used to thinking of it as like an allergy, but this is not that. This is a toxicity. Spinach, chard, beet greens, almonds, cashews, peanuts, all that stuff is high in oxalate. It can get neurotoxicity going. It can get inflammatory swelling and pain syndromes that are affecting your joints and connective tissues. I think the biggest hurdle is the mental hurdle of thinking of plants from a Disney movie, like, oh, the plants are here for us and they want to be all sweet and eaten and all perfectly safe. And that's not their job.
If people facing different issues, how would they know that oxalates are the main problem?